Those bells you're hearing in the background means it's time for school once again, and the academic year has begun this week here at IPFW. It also means another season of Mastodon Spotlight, where we highlight IPFW athletics. We begin season number 4 this week, talking about soccer, both men's and women's, with head coach Terry Stefankowitz. Our program is called Mastodon Spotlight, and it's coming up next.
That's the door to other worlds that my character Tilly and the rest of my team use on Stargate as just too much. It's a door to exploration and exciting adventure. And education can provide you with a simple passageway to a world full of possibilities. So stay in school and learn.
Hi again, everybody. I'm Mike Maas. Welcome once again to Mastodon Spotlight. Hope you all had a great summer, and we're looking forward now to season number 4, believe it or not, of Mastodon Spotlight, where we highlight IPFW athletics. We start this season talking about soccer, both men's and women's, and we're happy to have back on the program the head coach of men's and women's soccer here at IPFW, Terry Stefankowitz. Terry, welcome back.
Thanks, Mike. Look, I'm really happy to be here. You know, I'm lucky that I made it through 2-a-days. It's not 2-a-days at IPFW, it's 4-a-days. So Mike Harper and I are on that soccer field for 8 hours straight. But it's been a good spring or good fall season so far.
Well, summer, a lot of people relax in the summer, but I don't think it was total relaxation for you and Mike. Briefly talk about what you did over the summer, and then we'll get right into women's soccer.
Well, both Mike and I coach travel teams, so we were busy doing that. It's been a really good opportunity for us to see some good potential future players. I'm not at liberty to say some of their names, but we've seen kids from all over, probably a 6-state radius, and so we do a lot of traveling in the summer. The kids were on a weight training program all summer, and most of them came back in pretty good shape.
Well, let's get right into it. We're going to start, I'm old-fashioned. As I told some of the players that the folks will be seeing in a little while, I'm old-fashioned. I believe ladies first. So let's talk about ladies soccer. This is your 3rd year at the helm of the women's soccer team. Numbers sometimes are misleading. Last year, 3-15. Let's talk briefly about the season. Talk about the fact that we've got a lot of new faces, a lot of returning faces, and that'll lead into you talking about the roster for this year's women's soccer team.
Okay. Let's start off with the past and put that away. The past is the past, and we only won 3 games. We learned a great deal being in Division I. The level of play, the technical ability of the Division I players is higher. The speed at which they play the game is much, much faster. So Mike and I looked for some speed this year, and we brought in a forward who, in the history of the state of Massachusetts, by the way, another Massachusetts, the Massachusetts connection that we have, she's the 2nd all-time leading scorer in the history of the state, and she's a little tiny mighty mite. Her name is Lindsay Williamson, and she's about 5'2", and she's really, really quick. So she's a freshman, and she and Kristen McDonald, who is another Massachusetts person, are teaming up to form what we consider our best front line that we've ever had. One is basically right-footed, and the other, Kristen, is basically left-footed, so now we can go either way. And adding Lindsay gives us a little bit of speed. She can create things now because she has that change of speed and change of direction, whereas Kristen is more of a powerful player. She can turn somebody and just kick it. And both of them are working really, really hard, so we feel that we're really have improved our forward position. And in the midfield, we've been platooning in the preseason with about 8 girls. The NCAA rules have changed this year where you can substitute 1 player per half, and it used to be in the first half if you sat out you were finished for that half. So now you can sub back in, and we're going to try to platoon the midfield and keep the midfield players fresh, and we think we have 8 girls that can do that for us. A shocker to most people in Fort Wayne will be Kelly DeArmond, who was a first-team All-State goalkeeper and the Indiana State Player of the Year. We've converted her to a center midfielder, and Kelly's going to start for us at center mid. So that will surprise people when they come out and watch us. I feel like the strength of the team right now, because of the age, the seniority, are in the back. We have Shasina Hersey and Molly Coffey and Jacqueline Pantello, all returners in their same positions, and that gives us some stability there. We think we're going to put Sarah DeZarmo at the other back spot, and that gives us 4 really, really strong players in the back. We gave up a lot of goals last year, Mike. There were games where we were ahead, and a mistake here and a mistake there cost us. We've really shored up the goalkeeping position, and we have a young lady, Rachel Poore, another Massachusetts girl, who played in the PDL League as an incoming freshman on the women's side for the Boston team, Boston professional team. So she brings, even though she's a freshman, she brings a level of maturity. Her distribution is similar to that of the men's side. You just have to come out and watch her. She is a tremendous goalkeeper. So it gave us the luxury of moving Kelly to the midfield, and I think finally we have some balance, and we have a bench that will help us. It's the first time I can honestly say we're going into a season with a group that we don't have to fill any holes. We've got a group of kids that they fit the positions. They understand their roles and they fit the positions. So we're pretty excited about what's to come. We're still a young team, and I think we'll have to take it game by game. And I really believe, and I'm going out on the limb, some of the kids are a little concerned about saying it, but I think we can have a winning season in Division I this year.
That would be very interesting. 4th year of existence and first true year in D1.
Mm-hmm.
I want to hold off on the schedule to a later time. Let's jump over to the men now.
Okay.
And this is year number 20 for you. Geez, 5 more and you get a pension, I think, or something.
We don't know.
But, you're number 20 with the men, and again, it's been a complex situation with this move from D2 to D1 for the last couple of years. But the men come off a 2-13-1 season. Let's talk about some of the people that you hope will come back and lead this team on to bigger and better things.
Well, without a doubt, our best technical player is Ian Luya. He played in the PDL League, that's a professional development league, this summer in Kalamazoo. They made him a sweeper. He's going to play center mid for us. He can control the game. He's that kind of player. He's 6'3". He's extremely fast, very knowledgeable, distributes the ball well, and he will take all of our restarts. Our strength, or the hub of the team, is Ian. We have an excellent goalkeeper in Peter Hi from Chicago. He's a Polish kid that played on the Polish junior national team. So we feel that Peter's he came in as a freshman. He was so instrumental to the few wins that we did have, and he kept us in most games, and I'd like to talk about that in a minute. We're lucky we have Scott Bailey, Scott Bailey's played everywhere. He came in as a freshman, he was a forward, then we made him an outside midfielder. This year he's playing marking back. What Scott brings to the team is strength and speed. Pound for pound, Scott Bailey is one of the strongest kids I've ever seen, and the great thing about him is his quickness. Once he collects the ball, his job is half over. He needs to get us into attack, and Scotty can do that. John Skonecki is coming off a redshirt year. He was injured, and he's a big kid. He's about 6'5", and we look for him to play in the stopper role in the middle of the field. He has a baby face, but he's a really tough East Coast kind of player. And then we have Seth Fischelson up front, who I like to talk about Seth because Seth and I play racquetball, and we have a little war going back and forth. But Seth is a little tiny guy. He's about 5'7", 5'6", but he's so quick and elusive that he was our leading scorer last year. He's back and he's really improved. He's developed confidence now. He came to me and he said, I'm going to get a goal a game. And I told him he gets to a goal a game, he'll be an All-American. So that's a good thing, Seth. You keep that up. And then we have a young man who is from Kentucky who was the first student athlete at Indiana Purdue to ever be allowed to go over to Hawaii and go to college for a semester, and it was an exchange program. So he spent last semester in Hawaii, and now he's back here. That's Garrett Buck, and Garrett is going to play alongside Ian in the midfield. So we have some experience. We have technical ability with those people, but what I like is the leadership. These guys have taken over the team because we're pretty young. We may start 5 freshmen, but the leadership has been excellent.
And one little tidbit note, Garrett Buck scored the first Division I goal for IPFW
That's right.
last year in the showcase against West Virginia.
Yes, he did.
So,
and he's mentioned that several times during practice.
Before we go to break, briefly, let's talk about the schedules, and we'll start with the women, and I'll briefly read off some of them. Of course, we start this weekend with the showcase, and we're going to talk more in depth about that a little bit later. But then when the season starts for real on August 30th, you go to IUPUI. You lost 2-1 to them in the showcase last year. Then you're going to have 3 home matches: DePaul, Valparaiso, Niagara. You lost to DePaul, you beat Valpo, you didn't play Niagara. Then you go back on the road: Indiana State, Loyola Chicago, University of Toledo. Come home for a pair of matches against Murray State and Wright State. You lost to Murray State last year. Then you go back on the road for all but one match the rest of the year. Michigan State, where you lost 7-0 last year. Butler, you lost 7-1. Detroit Mercy, 4-0. And Western Illinois, 1-0. Then you go to Northern Iowa. Then you come back home on October 30th for the final home match against Ball State. And then you get to take the team on a little bit of a trip. I'm assuming it's you, although maybe it's Mike, I'm not sure, to Carolina, Coastal Carolina. Going to play them on November the 1st and close it out against the College of Charleston also on November the 2nd. So an interesting schedule, a few home matches, some road matches, and chances for payback.
It's a really good schedule. It's one in which we have some very high caliber teams that we're playing, like Michigan State and Butler is an excellent program. But there's a lot of schools that I think we've taken a big step, and we're going to find out right away at IUPUI. That, you talk about a revenge game. Here we are, the 2 regional campuses from Indiana and Purdue, and it's bragging rights, and we felt like we should have beat them last year here in the showcase. We outshot them and just didn't finish. I'm telling you, we are much improved. I don't know how much they're improved, but we are much improved. So they better watch out for us.
And then real quickly, because I think we're almost out of time for this segment, a look at the men's schedule. And again, I'm not talking about the showcase. We'll talk about that later. August 31st, you go down to IUPUI. You're going to play the University of Louisville, followed by Alabama A&M. And you're on the road for a good chunk of the season. You go down earlier in September 6th and 7th to Coastal Carolina to play those same teams that you are, Coastal Carolina, Charleston Southern. Then you're at Cleveland State. That's payback from a double overtime 1-0 loss. You're at Wisconsin, Milwaukee, which
we didn't play last.
Yeah,
we didn't play them.
Wisconsin, Green Bay. Then you're home to Eastern Illinois. You lost to them 8-2 last year. At Detroit Mercy. Home to Western Illinois. They beat us 3-2. Home to IUPUI. We lost 1-0. Home to Western Michigan, who we beat 4-2. Go to DePaul, where we won last year 3-1. At Butler, payback for a 7-0 whitewash. Home to Akron. At Northwestern. I know, was it the women that played that? Northwestern last year.
Right.
And then finish it off with a home match on October 22nd against Taylor University Upland. Again, payback for a team that beat you 4-1. And you finish the season off on October 25th at Bowling Green. So Again, a good schedule for the men, chances for payback.
Well, with the men, I don't think we're looking at it so much with payback. The men's game is so physical and so fast. We have 11 freshmen, 11 new players, and they're all going to play. This is the first time the entire group can come in and contribute right away. It is in the 20 years, it is the fastest team we've ever had at IPFW. So we're going to find out right away against Oakland on Saturday at the showcase whether or not that was a 1-0 game, and we'll find out what the difference is. But these guys are listening, they're working really, really hard, and I think the future for them is really, really good.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, one of my favorite segments on this program, a chance to talk to student athletes here at IPFW, and we got a chance. We're going to talk with some members of both the women's soccer team and the men's soccer team, and that's what's coming up next when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
This is me, and my mom and dad, and my big brother Alex, and Jack. This is the day I learned that sandals got their name from sand, and that the ocean is bigger than all of us. This is the day we all got to forget I was sick. This was my wish.
According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, it kills over 1,500 people every year and injures 71,000 more. Inadequate sleep has been linked to health and safety risks, even premature death. But today, new treatments are helping millions get the sleep they need. So talk to your doctor or take our free risk assessment on the web at sleepfoundation.org. Sleep deprivation. It's real, it's dangerous, and it's more treatable than ever.
It's the most magnificent sight in the universe. This planet full of life and wonder. This planet we call home. As an Earth Team volunteer, you can help the Natural Resources Conservation Service care for it, right in your own community. Call 1-888-LAND-CARE to find out how, because there's just no place like home.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Time now for one of my favorite portions of the program, a chance to speak with student athletes here at IPFW. And in this segment, we're going to speak with 3 members of the women's soccer team. And we'll introduce them to you. To my immediate right is Shasina Hersey. And if I mispronounce the names, I do apologize. And Shasina is from, she's a junior from Salisbury? Salisbury. I will give Mike Joel blame for this. Massachusetts. Right. And to Shasina's right, in the middle of our group here, is Katie Leggy. Thank you, because I knew I'd screw it up. Katie is a junior from Cincinnati, Ohio. And to Katie's right is Molly Coffey. Molly is a senior from Worthington, Ohio. Ladies, welcome to Mastodon Spotlight. We'll start with Shasina. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
I'm from right around the Boston area, about half hour north, right on the New Hampshire line. And I came here pretty much from coach's persistence and trying to get me down here. I wasn't planning on going to college, but I really like to play soccer, so I didn't really have any plans, but I'm glad I came here.
What position do you play?
I play sweeper, but every once in a while I'll move up to forward depending on how the game's going. But that's my position. That's what I like to play.
Katie?
Again, I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, and this is my 3rd year here. And in the spring of my senior year, I still wasn't really sure where I was going, and my club coach called me and said that Terry was still looking for somebody. So that's how I ended up here, and I am still kind of trying to find my position. I'm between a center mid and a outside back. So,
Molly?
This is my 3rd year here also. I went to Grace College in Warsaw my freshman year, and my husband and I are involved in a ministry called Young Life, and we drove out here like 3 times a week our freshman year, and then we decided we just felt like God was calling us to be more involved in that. So we moved out to Fort Wayne, and I didn't know where I was going to go to school, and started talking to Terry, and he was just great and totally convinced me to come here. And so this is my 3rd year playing here, and I also play sweeper. Shasina and I play a double sweeper. So
is Coach really that persistent?
yes.
Of course, he's watching this, so he'll get a chance to respond later on. We should note, Shasina, you were one of the leading scorers last year. You and Kristen McDonald each had 6 goals, and you also had a position change during the course of the year, if my memory is correct. Talk about that. If you're used to playing one position, all of a sudden Coach says, let's try another different position. How did you feel about that?
Well, I was a sweeper growing up playing club soccer. I was always played as a sweeper, and then when I got to high school, my coach moved me up because they had already had a sweeper set, so I had played forward a lot of my high school years, so I had gotten used to that position and gotten used to scoring some goals. But I still, like, at heart, I truly love to play sweeper. So when I came here, it's not, I can play anywhere. I'm not picky. I just want to play, but my favorite, I feel most comfortable at sweeper, so wherever he sticks me, I'll play. But
question to any or each of you. Talk about what it's like being on the soccer field. I mean, you're playing, you've got, soccer's a unique game. It's the world's favorite game if you look at statistics. More people play soccer than any other sport. What is the draw for you wanting to play soccer? Molly, we'll start with you.
I guess for me it's just the competition. I don't know, I love playing defense just because the feeling of chasing someone down, trying to get the ball, and just, I don't know, the moment you step out there, just the smell of the grass and you're in your uniform and you're just ready to play and compete, and I think just the competition is just so amazing. It just really gets my adrenaline going and makes me just love the game.
Katie?
I'd probably have to say a lot of competition also. I'm a pretty competitive person. I kind of grew up in a competitive family. So going out on the field and knowing that you have to work so hard to reach a certain goal, it has a lot of satisfaction in the end when you know that you reached it.
Shasina?
It's pretty much like the competition. I think that's pretty much what it is for anyone that plays soccer. It's a contact sport, and I'm really aggressive, so I like to anticipate plays when I get out there, and the slide tackling and just the contact, and it's like I like getting back and making slide tackles or taking it away from the forwards. I'm not really big on scoring, and I don't really like that limelight, but it's just the contact and the competition. It's really exciting, adrenaline rush.
Let's look ahead to the upcoming season. Last year, the team was 3-15, and I think a lot of people don't realize soccer on the women's side is still basically a beginning sport. This is only the 4th year of the program. What are the hopes, goals, and expectations for the upcoming season? Jacina?
Well, we got a lot of new freshmen coming in, and we're still trying to build the team unity and trying to weed out the players, which I think that we've done this year. It's going to be our breakthrough year, I think, with the team unity, and we finally have a team that we can have all 11 people out there and just be confident. That's the biggest thing. I think we're confident once we get used to each other's playing style that we're going to have a strong team, and we're gonna have a winning season, good one.
Katie?
Well, I think anybody who's been to the women's IPFW game can look back to the first year and know that we've taken little steps and we are getting better. Even though our record wasn't that great last year, we are getting better. And like Shasina said, we're filling in a lot of the holes that we've had the past couple years. And I think the last couple years we've kind of taken little steps, but this year I think it's going to be a big step, and like she said, it's going to be a breakthrough year. So I'm excited.
Molly?
I think that this year it's a really realistic goal that we'll have a winning season, and I'm really excited about that. And I also think that we have a solid 11 players on the field, and we're not just sticking someone in a spot to fill a space, but we really have quality players who can move the ball around. And as we get closer and build more team unity and get used to playing with each other, I think it's only going to get better.
I think I've got time for 2 more questions, and one is a quick one that all of you can answer. We start the season off, though it's an exhibition Saturday in the Soccer Showcase against IU. Quick thought about that, and then we'll have our final question for you.
I'd have to say, I think, well, like you said, one of your questions before, what you liked most about playing soccer. It's soccer, you never know what's going to happen in a game. Anything can happen. I think just from watching the World Cup this year, you can have a big team and then you can have a small school like IPFW, and we have a good chance at doing well and winning. I think if we just all put our hearts into it. And this year, something we've never had before is everybody wants to win. There's 11 players out there and 6 players on the bench, and everybody wants to win just as much as the next person. So I think we've got a good chance.
Shasina?
I think the level of competition that we have on our team is definitely enough to match, and I think beat IU. I think they're gonna be surprised. I mean, I'm sure they've heard about our past records, and they probably think they're gonna come out there and walk through us, but they're gonna be surprised. We're gonna put up a good fight and hopefully score some goals and win. So I'm optimistic.
Molly, you have the last word.
Yeah, I think maybe some people might see it as an unsurmountable goal or something like that, but we don't see it that way at all. I mean, we see it as another challenge, just another time to play and just give our best.
I'll save my final question since I'm out of time for another program perhaps, but I want to thank each of you for coming on this week. Continued success both in the classroom and on the soccer field, and good luck in any future endeavors. But again, thank you much for appearing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Our guests have been Shasina Hersey,
That's right.
got it right, Katie Loggy, and Molly Coffey. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk with some members from the men's soccer team. But that's when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
Today's teenagers, the way people talk, you'd think they can't do anything right. It's just not so. We get to know over 300,000 kids a year, smart kids who know what they want. They believe in themselves, and they believe in America. Some go straight to college. Others choose to learn leadership, discipline, courage, and commitment first with us. Today's military, making a stronger America, one good kid at a time.
A new century is coming, and with it, 1,000 questions. Will your family ever be in harm's way? Will a small town in Texas be hit with a hurricane? Will your daughter ever need a new kind of blood treatment? We have no crystal ball for the world that awaits. Just one promise. We'll be there.
Our part of ourselves to die with them. Help World Wildlife Fund protect animals in the places where they live by ordering a free action kit. Together, we can leave our children a living planet.
Come in, she said, I'll give ya shelter from the storm.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Our topic this week is soccer. We just visited with members of the women's team, and now it's a chance for the men to reply. And we're happy to have on the program 3 members of this year's men's soccer team. To my immediate right, for the 4th year, just as in the 4th year of this program, Ian Luia. And I got it close, and you reminded me off air that I've screwed your name up royally now for 3+ years, but Ian is from Manchester, England. To Ian's right is John Skonecki. John is a sophomore from Beverly, Massachusetts. And to John's right is Scott Bailey. Scott is a senior from Argos, Indiana. Gentlemen, welcome. Ian, welcome back. You're the old pro at this. You're going to get your SAG card just like me. You're a senior now, 4 years. Talk about your experiences with IPFW soccer?
Experiences, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, to be honest with you. My first year, obviously we came in and we came to the Elite 8 in the nation my first year, and it was all a bit of a blur because I didn't know anything about NCAA sports and all that kind of thing in America, so getting all that way, it really didn't overrule me that much because I didn't know anything about it, that sort of thing. And then obviously we changed to Division 1 and it went kind of downhill, and people got a little bit disappointed because certain people lost eligibility and that sort of thing. And so this year's really like another step on the rebuilding curve for us, so to speak, and we got a lot of freshmen, so hopefully that's going to help us along the way to build for the future.
John, you're from New England, and Coach Stefanko, it seems to bring a lot of people from New England up here, or out here. What led you to come here at IPFW, and tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay. What led me here was my high school coach. He had a relationship with Terry. They had a place up on Salisbury Beach where Sheena, who you spoke to earlier, is from, and through their contact, I came out, visited the place. Terry sells it great, and that's how I ended up here.
And you're enjoying it so far?
Yeah.
Coach, you got to with the coach looking at you. You got to say that. Scott, you're the native Hoosier out of this group. Talk about yourself a little bit and what led you to come here to play soccer for IPFW.
Well, like you said, I was from a small town called Argus, and just about an hour and a half from here. And Coach contacted me through my senior year, and I came over and looked at the place. Wasn't sure if I wanted to go to school or not, and my mom actually kind of persuaded me just to go and try it out, so I did. And I ended up liking the school, and I liked the team and everything. We had a good camaraderie and everything, so I stayed and been here ever since.
Let me throw an academic question out. What are your fields of study for each of you? And Scott, we'll start with you.
I'm in my 4th year now of elementary education. And I'll be finishing up, actually next fall I'll be graduating.
And you plan to be a teacher, huh?
Right.
Coaching maybe?
Yeah, possibility.
John?
I'm in business management. Hopefully I'll finish up next spring. So I'm just starting into the course, but not sure where it'll take me. I figure it's a broad range. I could end up anywhere.
And Ian?
I started off as education, but I'm going to go back to doing history, and then hopefully I'm going to be doing like about another year and a half, I think it is. So after that, hopefully law school or something like that, if I can bring my GPA up high enough. We'll see.
Coach mentioned to me earlier in the summer that you had a chance to play in a very, very good league up in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Talk about that if you can.
Yeah, I play in what's called the PDL. It's a Premier Developmental League. Players get selected from across kids from all over America actually go and play there, and they live in certain towns in Michigan, Ohio. There's a team in Indiana as well, Wisconsin, and they get selected to go play there, live there in the summer and play games. It's basically for college players to go and live, and they can get exposure for the A-League and the MLS and that sort of thing, but also to stay in shape during the summer. So it was a good experience. There's a lot of good players up there, so it was enjoyable for me.
What are your hopes post-graduation?
Like I say, I don't really know if I want to stay and play soccer in America, because in terms of financially, American soccer is not very well paid compared to Europe. It's still growing, obviously, and the money's not quite the same. So if I was to play, I'd hopefully want to go home and do that. But if not, I'll stay and, like I say, do something with a law degree if I can get that sorted out. So that's what I'm looking at.
You talk about the World Cup, and I'm going to call you a transplanted American for a couple of moments. I'd like to ask each of you what you thought of the United States' performance in the World Cup this year, making the Elite 8, just as IPFW did 3 years ago. The U.S. did this year, and it's, I believe, and Terry, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, it may be the highest that the U.S. team's ever gotten in World Cup competition. What do you think of their performance, and what does that say about the growth of soccer in America? Scott?
Yeah, like you said, it is growing, and it was a great leap for the nation to see the team reach that far and show that it is growing, and the players are getting better and can compete with the other nation teams.
John?
Oh, I feel the same way. It's definitely growing. But I think if you look at it and relate it to IPFW, we're small, people don't expect us to go that far as the United States did in the World Cup. And you could just sneak up and surprise people by being a small force and nobody expecting what you can do. Everybody just goes out as hard as they can and proves everybody wrong.
I think each time they're actually going to get better and better because the number of kids that America has to choose from is obviously a lot greater than anywhere, say England or anything like that. Plus they put a lot more money into it in America than they do in other European countries, so slowly but surely it's going to become bigger and bigger, and they're going to become even more of a power. So to me it was obviously surprising to see them get that far so soon, but sooner or later I think they're going to definitely be up there because they got all the resources to make it happen.
Let's change the name of the team from USA to IPFW. As you said earlier, Ian, it's been a roller coaster ride for you, going from a team that won 18 matches and made the Elite Eight in your freshman year to last year. Of course, there was the problems the last couple of years with the transition to D1. Last year, 2-13-1, not good on the scoreboard, but what are the hopes, thoughts, and dreams for IPFW men's soccer this year? And start with you, Ian.
I think the main thing for me is we've got a lot of freshmen this year, maybe 11 or so, and I think for me it's basically to help them out now. My time's obviously done pretty much after this season, so for me it's to help build a foundation for them to grow upon for the next 3 years that they're going to be here. And so that's as I see it, that I can help them out in whatever way I can with what experience I've gained from playing in the NCAA tournament and having played Division I soccer before and all these other things that we've done. So basically it's to help them out and hopefully see them well into the future.
John?
I feel the same. I mean, I'm going to help them grow. I'm here for the next 2 years, so also I'll be part of that growth. And I feel there's, like the girls were saying, filling holes in the past couple of years. We've had the same problem, filling holes here and there. And the freshmen that we have coming in this year and a couple of transfers, I believe we're going to have a full team and even subs. So we're going to have depth, and to bring everybody together, like Ian was saying, and help them grow into a team for the upcoming years. I think we're looking pretty good.
Scott?
Like they said, our team is young. We do have a lot of quick players, so that's going to help because playing Division I, every player you play against is quick, and these guys are young, but they're going to, I think after a couple games they'll be able to step up and get their nerves out of them and gain some experience. And also, like they said, us three have been here a long time, and maybe our leadership can rub off on them and they can step up and take their roles.
I got 20 seconds for one last question geared for Scott and Ian being seniors. Any thoughts of payback to your opponents this year? One final hurrah?
I got one because when I played in Michigan this summer, we had 2 kids that played for Butler University, and they beat the hell out of us last season. They were making fun of me the whole summer, so hopefully we can get I want some revenge with those guys. They're always making fun of me, so we'll see how that goes.
Scott, one final quick thought?
I just like the teams that beat up on us last year come back and give them a good game and maybe surprise some of them and beat them.
Total, we're out of time. Gentlemen, thank you for coming over to speak with us today. Good luck. As I said to the ladies, good luck on the soccer field and in the classroom and in your future endeavors. But again, thanks for appearing on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Our guests have been Ian Lulia, hope I got it close to right, from England, John Skonecki from Massachusetts, and Scott Bailey from here in Indiana. We'll take a break. Coach will come back, and then we're going to talk about Soccer Showcase 2002. That's when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
As time flows on, there are places we return to again and again. Places that comfort us with their serenity. Places that astound us with their beauty. Places where our memories come to life. Precious places, timeless places, places that with your help can endure forever. I'm Paul Newman. Help the Nature Conservancy save the last great places around the world.
I was a liberal arts major in college.
I didn't speak a second language.
What could I?
What could I offer the Peace Corps?
The answer surprised me. I served in South Africa teaching HIV/AIDS awareness.
Working with my students in Nicaragua was a great experience. We taught each other a lot about our countries and cultures.
This is the Peace Corps today.
Redefine your world. Join the Peace Corps.
Apply now at peacecorps.gov.
All over America, people are taking the National Radon Test. Have you?
You put me on the spot!
True or false? Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer.
True. I'd say false.
No, it's true.
That's something new to me.
The Office of the Surgeon General recommends all homes be tested for radon.
False.
It's true.
True? That's bad. We should get our house tested. Sure, I'm gonna call it.
1-800-SOS-RADON.
How can you not call? 1-800-SOS-RADON.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. We are now rejoined by the head coach for both men's and women's soccer here at IPFW, Terry Stefankowitz. And Terry, you had a chance to sit back behind the scenes, so to speak, and watch members of both your men's and women's teams come and talk to us. And a brief moment for reflection on these 6 players that we just spoke to.
While I was watching them, it dawned on me, that's why I coach. These are true ladies and gentlemen. I'm really proud of the way they conduct themselves. We had a captain's dinner at the house last night, and they came in, they were so polite. My wife thought, you know, they've really matured. They're juniors and seniors now, and I'm really proud of them.
And I think it's taken me 4 years, but I think I
Ian,
didn't butcher Ian's name
right.
as bad as I have it. And he reminded me of year 1, Ilian, and I'll never live that one down. But they are some fine people, and it ought to be an interesting year to say the least. And
the other good thing, they're all going to graduate.
Yeah.
Every single one of them are on target to graduate, and that's what it's all about too. You know, we want to start winning again, but it makes me feel good that they're on target. They're all good students, and we didn't mention Molly Coffey is a straight A student. This young lady works for Young Life. She's married. She plays soccer, and she took 21 hours last semester and got a 4.0.
Wow.
So she's quite a lady.
What does she do in her spare time?
Yeah.
Oh, that's very neat to hear, especially someone like her that can combine excellence in the classroom, excellence on the soccer field, and excellence in life. And that's the goal, I think, for everybody here, not just to do well on the athletic field, but to learn and grab the tools that they come here for in the first place and apply them to real life later on.
And all 3 of the men are on the dean's list. So, you know, we can talk about soccer all we want, but it reflects. They reflect each other academically and athletically. So, okay, now we can talk about the showcase.
Let's have some fun here now.
Right.
Let's talk about your dream come true, and soccer showcase number 3 takes place this weekend, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday. It's a different format. Last year, correct me if I'm wrong, we had 8 men's teams, 4 women's teams. I know that we had, on the women's side, we had IU,
IPFW, and IUPUI, and
I'm drawing a blank.
Illinois, Eastern Illinois, Northern Illinois.
Some school from Illinois, yeah. And then on the men's side, of course, IU, and what can we say about Jerry Yeagley? IU, IPFW, Michigan, Notre Dame, Alabama, Birmingham, Kentucky, and I can't wait to see their coach again.
Ian Collins.
Yep, Ian with the accent.
He can't wait to come up here. He's so excited.
And I'm trying to think who else I'm missing. But West Virginia was here. And if I'm omitting a school, I apologize. This year, format's a little bit different. In fact, it's a whole lot different. And why don't you talk about some of the components?
Well, we've added some things. A lot of the youth kids were playing in other cities last year, so we thought, let's see if we can approach the Citadel Soccer League and host a tournament in conjunction with our showcase. And we have 50 youth teams playing in the mornings, Saturday and Sunday mornings. Then an ex-alum from IPFW, Bron Pfeiffer, who's now the coach at Northrop, decided that he would like to be part of the showcase. So the Northrop Invitational, there are 4 teams, 4 high school teams playing, a Livonia, Michigan team, a team from Elkhart, and a team from Indianapolis. And then we have 12 top college soccer teams coming to town. And we also have the traditional Homestead Canterbury game. So if you're a soccer enthusiast, you might as well just get a tent and pitch a tent for the weekend, because from 6:30 Friday night all the way through mid-afternoon Sunday, it's nonstop soccer.
Let's go over the schedule a little bit, Terry, and hopefully the copy I have is still correct. Everything gets underway Friday night, 6:30, and again, everything is going to take place at the Hefner Fields complex. 17 soccer fields, I believe, if I counted them correctly. The collegiate matches are going to take place on fields 1 and 2, which are the 2 lighted fields. At 6:30 on one field is going to be IU, defending national runners-up. I think Coach Egley, I think this is season number 30 for him.
It's a lot.
It's a few. They're going to take on the Wildcats of Kentucky and Ian Collins, and I can't wait to say hi to him again.
Yep, both ranked teams, natural rivalry between Indiana and Kentucky, so it's always a good match.
At the same time on field 2, Purdue and Kentucky women's teams are going to take place. That battle's going to take place, and first time for each of those 2 teams. What can you tell us about them?
Well, it's the first time that Purdue's come here. Kentucky, because of Ian, has heard all about it. Warren Lipka is the coach of Kentucky, and as soon as Ian got back, he said, "Hey, you guys got to find a way to get up there." So we hooked up Purdue and Kentucky. They were supposed to be playing in West Lafayette, but we moved it here. So that'll be a good match.
Then at approximately 8:30. 2 other matches on Friday night. One, a men's match featuring Virginia from the ACC, highly ranked. I think they're in the top 10 preseason.
Top 10.
And going up against the Spartans of Michigan State,
who made it to the NCAA last year for only the second time.
And gave IU a run for their money in both the conference tournament, and I believe they played in postseason as well.
They played each other 3 times last year, and I think a 1-goal differential in each of those matches. So just excellent competition, but now you're going to get to the
Now we're going to get to the coup d'etat,
yes.
The cream of the crop, or whatever you want to call it. The feature match, I feel, and I think you feel the same way, of the entire weekend. North Carolina, 9-time national champion, defending national runners-up against Notre Dame. A rematch of the national championship game of 2 seasons ago. Both teams are in the top 10 preseason. North Carolina's number 2, and I believe Notre Dame is 9th through 10th. I could be wrong on that.
That's close. They're going to be in the top 5 at the end. They're excellent teams.
But your thoughts on that match? That again, that's the premier match of the tournament, I feel.
I think anybody in Fort Wayne, whether you like soccer, ever knew anything about soccer, but like women's athletics, these are the elite of the elite in terms of athleticism. Technical ability, they play a beautiful game. They'll knock it around. They're like magicians with the ball, and they're very professional in their approach. Get there early and watch them warm up, because everything North Carolina does and everything Notre Dame does is professionally done. It's top of the line.
Well, that is Friday night. Saturday, get up early, as Terry mentioned, starting at 7 a.m., running from 7 to 5 on fields 5 to 15, the Citadel Junior Jamboree for the young soccer participants. At 11 and 3, the high school matches you alluded to with Northrop, and if it's the school, I think, are from Livonia, and I'm from Detroit.
Michigan.
If it's Stevenson, they've been a traditional
Very
power
good team.
in Michigan soccer. I graduated too many years ago, and they were, back in the late 60s and early 70s, they were a state power.
Yeah, they're very good
team. And then the other 2 schools, they're going to play on fields 3 and 4 at 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock. At 3 o'clock on field 1, the IPFW men's team will play Oakland, as you said, a rematch of last year's game when it was a 1-0 game. Slightly before that, at 2 o'clock, from 2 to 5:30, there's going to be an all-team picnic with all the other participants, collegiate teams that are here. Then at 5:15, the grand ceremony, a quick thought on that, where everyone comes into the
Okay, let me
stadium.
back up to the picnic, because this gives an opportunity for all the youth kids to buy a picnic lunch and sit up in the stands, watch IPFW in Oakland, and sit up in the stands with all these other college guys, get their autographs. It's a great, great opportunity to sit right there with the players. And then we're having a grand ceremony, and we're going to march in all the youth teams into the stadium, into the Field 1, and Glenbrook Dodge has been gracious enough to donate their flag, you know, that huge,
big flag,
that huge flag. And the IU women's team and the IPFW women's team will carry the flag in and open it up at midfield, play the national anthem, and we hope that there's going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,000 to 10,000 people to watch IPFW in Indiana. A rematch of 3 years ago, only the sex has changed.
And I remember 3 years ago when we started this thing, until the rains came, but what a night it was, until the storms.
It was a memory that will always live with me.
And as you mentioned, at 6 o'clock after the ceremony, IPFW IU women play. And then on Field 1 at 8 o'clock, classic battle. Defending state champion Canterbury, Coach Greg Malk, takes on the Homestead Spartans. And you know a little bit about Homestead.
Adam Strachan, ex-IPFW. Gotta tell.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I know you and I talked before, you're talking about possibly 5,000 or 6,000 fans for that game alone.
Yeah.
One of the premier high school soccer matches, period, in the state. That's Saturday night. Sunday, 7 to noon, again, the Citadel Junior Jamboree on fields 5 to 17. And it will close out with 3 collegiate matches. At 11 o'clock, Field 2, Notre Dame, Kentucky women. 12 noon on Field 1, IU Virginia men. And again, that's going to be a heck of a match. Both teams having postseason aspirations early. And at 1 o'clock, Michigan State and Kentucky men will conclude Soccer Showcase number 3. So
we left one thing out that's not on that list.
Please mention it.
If you haven't been out to the Hefner Fields, we have a brand new building. It's the Hefner Pavilion. It's got a concession stand, a press box, a viewing area on the second deck. It's a state-of-the-art building, and that will be dedicated at 5 o'clock. And that's going to be a big event. When these teams pull up and see what we've done to this facility, Tad from Buildings and Grounds has got Field 1 in the condition. It looks just like a carpet. I have never seen that field look so nice. I told our kids, I don't even want you walking out there. So it's going to be really, really exciting.
I know this is a moment of glory for you. It's as I said earlier, it's a dream come true. It is considered the preseason NIT of collegiate soccer, and you've got to be awfully proud. If this thing goes well, and I know we're putting a crystal ball on, where do you think this can go down the road?
Well, it was a dream at one time, but I think realistically that this will be televised in the near future. People are talking about it already. We've had Adidas has mentioned it. You know, they've got ins with ESPN, and who knows? I would think that if it continues to grow in the next 3 years, it'll be televised.
I can tell you that, Lord willing, if things fall into place, we hope to do a highlight show. We are going to be there. College 56 will be there, and we hope to get highlights from the matches, and I hope to get interviews from players and coaches. And if everything falls into place, we've got tentative plans for a 60-minute show, which we hope to show with, knock on wood, if everything again falls into place within a couple of weeks from this weekend. So that's our hopes and goals and dreams for us.
That would be exciting.
But tremendous weekend ahead. If there are people, if things go well, this show will be seen both on Thursday and Friday, though it starts Friday night. If there are people that are watching the show on Thursday and they're interested, if they have questions, is there a number they can call?
You know, Ron Clark is the guy to call, and all
You can't think of his number?
You know what?
I'll give it to you if you
okay,
need
give it to me.
481-6617 is Ron Clark. He's the tournament director.
They can get tickets online
Through Ticketmaster?
Well,
Is it Ticketmaster?
Not Ticketmaster, online through the website.
Okay.
We have a website for the showcase now.
Okay.
So we're advancing.
And I know the athletic department office 481-6643. If again 481-6643. So good luck this weekend. We will see you in a few weeks as the show progresses and the season progresses. And thanks as always for coming on board.
Thank you, Mike. One last thing. Promise me there's no rain this year.
We'll try.
Okay.
We'll try.
All right.
Terry Stefankowitz has been our guest, the head coach for both men's and women's soccer here at IPFW. We thank Terry. We thank the student athletes who participated early in the program. And as always, we thank you, the viewer, for tuning in to Mastodon Spotlight to see what's going on with IPFW athletics. Season 4 of the program is underway. We invite you to come back next week for another edition of Mastodon Spotlight. But until then, this is Mike Maas saying, have a great week and go Dons. Last week we talked about soccer, men's and women's soccer here at IPFW. This week we moved down in the alphabet to the letters T and X. T for tennis, X for cross country. And that's the menu this week on Mastodon Spotlight. Stay tuned, it's coming right up. Hi again, everybody. I'm Mike Maas. Welcome to another edition of Mastodon Spotlight. Well, as I said a moment ago, we're moving southward in the alphabet this week on the show. Last week we talked with Terry Stefankowitz and previewed the soccer season and soccer showcase, and we'll talk more about that in an upcoming show. But this week we're moving down to the letter T for the first half of the program. We're going to talk tennis, both men's and women's. with the new head coach of tennis here at IPFW. Is not a stranger. He was here in the spring, but we welcome back to the program Eric Burns. And
thanks for having me back.
First and foremost, you are now the main man. Kindly tell us how that came about.
Well, I worked closely with Roxanne last year, Roxanne Cron. She just decided she wanted to pursue another path as far as her career, and decided to work down at Wildwood, and wanted to spend more time with her family, so I got to take over the job, and it's been a good experience so far, and I'm really happy to be here.
Now, we do wish Roxanne and Peyton and family the best of luck. But now you're the one responsible for
That's
everything,
right.
the scheduling, the recruiting, the coaching, the whole 9 yards. Obviously, you feel ready for it. Your first thoughts when Mark offered you the job?
Ready to take it. I mean, I worked hard to get to this point. A couple years of being a volunteer coach at some lower level schools, lower level like Division III. That's what I'm speaking of. Some high school coaching. Taught at clubs. I've been pretty well everywhere in the last 3 or 4 years, so I felt like I kind of deserved this, and I'm just happy everything worked out and I could stay.
Well, we're happy to have you here.
I feel grateful I can be here. So
let's get into it. Let's talk first. One of the big chores of being a coach in the college ranks is you have to replenish your roster through recruiting and all forms of recruiting. Let's take a look at this year's men's tennis squad first and foremost. And one thing that catches the eye in a heartbeat, there's only 2 returning players. But let's start with those 2 players and then fill out the roster.
Actually, there are 3.
3? I can't count. What can I say?
Sean Fisher will be returning. He's a senior. He played 2 doubles for us last year and also 4 singles. He will be the team captain this year. He's someone for all the younger players coming in to look up to. He's going to, definitely keep them in line and, share his experience with them. And I think he'll do a good job in that role. So I'm happy to have him back. Ian Lionheart is back. He played 2 singles and 1 doubles for us last year. He's back from Argentina. Looked pretty improved yesterday in practice, like he'd been working on his game all summer, so excited to have him back. And then Jesse Nico, he'll be coming in today. He actually had some trouble getting out of Australia, catching flights out of there, so he'll be coming in, and hopefully he'll get to practice here pretty soon. And I think he can really help and contribute, probably somewhere in the lineup.
In fact, we had Ian and Jesse on in the spring, I think, last year.
Yeah.
So, well, let's talk about, you've got those 3 coming back, but you can't play with just 3 for team matches. Let's talk about some of the people you've had to go out and get in here.
Okay, well, I'm starting with a junior coming in is Michael Parker. He comes from Tyler Junior College. Came along with Francesca Solari, who's on the women's team. He knows what winning is all about. They won the national championship for junior college there at Tyler. I mean, it just comes from a great program. He's a really nice kid, and I just think he's going to do nothing but good things here, and really help. Him and Sean are going to help lead the program. I think he's got a little experience as well. Being one of the older players. And then Lucas Boyer also will be returning this year. He's a junior. He set out part of last year, but I think he's been working on his game all summer, and decided to make another go at it. So we're going to work on his game, and I think he'll be somewhere in that lineup as well. He brings a lot of experience. Was a great player at Homestead, and we've just got to work on a few things getting back to that position. And then I've got to think here about some of my newcomers. I have 6 of them, I believe, as far as freshmen go. We got Daniel Jackson from Delta. He comes in as having the great honor of being a runner-up in the state of Indiana in doubles. He and his partner last year. So I think he's going to bring some good qualities to our team, really help us in our doubles, especially with the depth. Billy Ruxton was his teammate. Played 1 singles at Delta. Was 2nd team All-State. Great player, good singles player, good head on him, works hard. He's going to be another asset. We have Justin Clark coming in from Winchester. He was honorable mention All-State in doubles, and you know, really good doubles player, strong. Needs a little work on his singles, but you know, I think, you know, another year or so he'll definitely be a strong player for us, and will be able to help us out. Michael Chase likes to go by Mac. He's in from Lenexa, Kansas, and he was a great singles and doubles player out there. Had a really high Missouri Valley ranking in the USTA tournaments, and you know, from what I can tell so far, looks like a good singles player. You know, we just had our first practice yesterday, so I'm getting used to some of these guys I've only seen hit on tape, so it's a difference. I'm just trying to size up where everyone is. And then Matt Munns is a walk-on from DeKalb who'll be coming in. Great kid, good attitude. I think he's going to really improve, and we're going to work on his game a lot. And I'm happy to have him. So.
We don't have too much time left in this segment, but if you can briefly, that's the men's side. You went out and did a lot of recruiting on the women's side too, because with one exception, it's a brand new team. In the last 45 seconds or so, at least can you mention the members of the women's team, and then we'll go to break and do some other things and talk more about it when we come back.
Yes, we have Francesca Solari, who's a junior, Julie Downs, who will be a junior, Stephanie Blaney, who's coming in as a junior, and Michelle Humphrey as a junior. Jill Carey returned. She's our only returner. She's a sophomore, and Beth Miller is our only freshman.
A little bit of mixture, youth and experience.
And I think those junior college kids and the transfers are really going to help, you know, with their experience, the younger players.
We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to visit with three of those junior transfers from the women's tennis team. Francesca Solari, Stephanie Blaney, and Julie Downs, and we'll learn more about them when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
I'm sick of this. I'm sick of dealing with you. I'm sick of
I work 6 days a week.
Who do you think you
Stand
are?
up straight.
Don't you ever talk back to me again! You just shut up!
What are you crying about?
What a child learns about violence, a child learns for life. Teach carefully. We can show you how. Act Against Violence. Call 877-ACT-WISE for a free brochure.
What is a hero? Are heroes born, or are they made? In after-school programs, your kids will uncover hidden strengths, discover they have the power to change their future, and find the hero inside themselves. Let us know you on after-school programs in your area. Call 1-800-USA-LEARN. After-school programs, helping kids find the hero within.
I wasn't going to school because I was hanging with the wrong crowd. And one day I was put into juvie for 2 stolen cars, robbery of a house, and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. And I was locked up. That's when I really realized that, I mean, it wasn't for me. Like, I was only in there 2 months, but to me that was enough. It'd be better for me to stay in school, just get my education. I think I'm happier now. I know I'm happier now.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. Our topic on this half of this week's program is tennis, and in particular women's tennis. We have a chance now to visit with 3 student athletes here at IPFW, all members of the 2002-2003 women's tennis team. To my immediate right, we welcome Francesca Solari, who is a junior from Santiago, Chile. And to Francesca's right is Stephanie Blaney. Stephanie is a junior from College Station, Texas. And to Stephanie's right is Julie Downs. Julie is a transfer also coming from Lake Superior State, way up in God's country, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, Iron Mountain, Michigan. Ladies, welcome both to IPFW and to Mastodon Spotlight. Francesca, we'll start with you. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a transfer student. I graduated from Tyler Junior College, played there for 2 years, and we got national championship both years. And that's it. I'm from Chile. I don't know what else you want to know.
What led you to come from Santiago, Chile to the United States?
Well, in my country, it's too hard to study. We don't have college sports. So you either study or do a sport. And I knew I wasn't good enough to go pro, but I didn't want to stop playing tennis. So that's why I came here, to get an education and keep on playing tennis.
Stephanie, from Texas A&M land, otherwise known as Aggie land. How'd you end up way up here in the Midwest?
I wanted to further my education and play tennis at the same time, and IPFW seemed like the place.
Where did you go to junior college?
Temple College. And as well, we won a national junior college championship for Division II tennis.
Well, Texas brings home some memories to me because I had the chance to live there for 4 years, and you mentioned Temple. Temple's not far from Waco, and I spent 3 years in Waco. So welcome up here.
Thank you.
And Julie from God's country, Lake Superior State. What led you to make the trip down south?
Actually, working in a racket club on the other side of town, I have such a job opportunity, and they'll help pay for school. Excuse me. And it's a good opportunity. I love to play.
Well, let's touch a little bit on the educational part. What is your field of study here at IPFW?
Business administration.
And Stephanie?
Business management.
Marketing.
Marketing. Uh-oh. That's a good field.
Yeah.
It really is. I mentioned off air before we started taping, I asked what you like better, singles or doubles, because you're going to be playing both this year. And Francesca, I think you said you like
singles.
Singles.
Yeah.
Why singles over doubles?
Because I'm better single player than doubles, but I'm getting better, so I'm starting to like doubles better.
And Stephanie, you mentioned doubles.
Yes, sir.
The key to doubles?
I like being on the court with someone else. I have a lot of fun, and it seems like the points are a lot more fun. But I enjoy singles as well.
Julie, you mentioned
both.
Doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
As long as you're on the court.
There's so many aspects to each game that it's challenging either way.
Let me ask each of you, in terms of the game itself, I'm going to guess, Francesca, that being from Chile, you're used to playing baseline as opposed to serve and volley.
Yeah. I know, on a clay court.
Yeah. So you like to play the baseline, and you're most comfortable with it.
That's right.
Stephanie, whether it's, well, let's go for the singles part first, because doubles you rotate. But singles, do you prefer, are you more of a baseline player or are you a serve and volleyer?
More of a baseline, but I do tend to gradually come up to the net. So.
And Julie?
More baseline.
Is that just the way all of you, I know that's the way tennis is played where you're at, Francesca. Why do you think it is that they teach you pretty much baseline play?
Because, well, actually, if you see women's tennis in general, there are a few girls that go to the net a lot. But in my case, since I play in clay court, the ball's much slower, so you can stay in the baseline forever, and the point lasts forever. So it's better.
Let me ask you this question. I know that we're going to talk primarily college the last few moments we have. Your thoughts on women's tennis in general? It's skyrocketed in a number of ways. You've got the Williams sisters professionally, Venus and Serena, that seem to be cleaning up everywhere they go. You've got the comeback of Jennifer Capriati. You've got Monica Seles hanging around, in a manner of speaking. Who do you look at when you watch professional tennis? Do you model yourselves after any particular player? Julie?
I like Lindsay Davenport a lot because she's not afraid of anything and she'll go after it.
Stephanie?
I enjoy watching the Williams sisters because I know it must be tough when they have to play each other, but it just shows that when you're on the court, it's just tennis, you're serious, and then when you're off the court, you can have fun and just...
Who do you think's the better player?
Serena.
So. Interesting. She's doing quite well right now. And Francesca, is there anyone that you look after?
Yeah, well, I like Jennifer Capriati. All the story she has. And I like how she plays.
We don't have too much time left, but I do want to ask you, what are your hopes, goals, and dreams as far, not only from this coming year playing tennis, but down the road, Francesca?
So I'm very excited of this year we're Division I. I think we have a pretty good team, And I think if we practice hard, we'll do well in the season. We just want to do as well as we can do.
Is Coach a slave driver?
No.
He'll get a chance to respond later. Stephanie?
I hope we go far. Hope maybe we can get another championship in. So especially at Division I. So.
And Julie?
It's a good team. We can play well, and we all get along, so it shouldn't be any problems there.
I think if I have enough time for one quick question, talk about the fact that you've come from championship teams. How can you spread that knowledge and experience to your teammates? Stephanie, start with you.
I think that's great that we both have the experience, and just all three of us, we have the junior college tennis behind us, and I think that I think we only have one freshman on the team, and we're all hitting together, and we can help each other, give pointers, and I think we're going to do really good.
Well, I'm told we're just about out of time, but I want to thank each of you for coming on. Love the smiles, gals. Love the smiles. We wish you the best here at IPFW, both on the tennis court and in the classroom. And hopefully we'll be talking to you perhaps in the spring as well, when the spring season rolls around. But thanks again for coming on today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have had 3 members of the women's tennis team here at IPFW on. Francesca Solari from Santiago, Chile, Stephanie Blaney from College Station, Texas, and Julie Downs from Iron Mountain, Michigan. We'll take a break and we'll bring Coach Eric Burns back, and we'll look ahead to this upcoming schedule, at least the fall portion of it, but that's when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
Hey Jill, how'd you do? Huh? What's your time? Davis with a time of 4 minutes, 34.54 seconds. Jill Petware.
As time flows on, there are places we return to again and again. Precious places. Timeless places. Places that with your help can endure forever. I'm Paul Newman. Help the Nature Conservancy save the last great places around the world.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. We bring Coach Eric Burns back to the set now for this final segment on tennis this week. And Eric, a quick comment on the 3 ladies we just had on. Francesca Solari, the transfer from Santiago, Chile, and I thought her English was not bad at all.
No, she does okay.
And then the Texan Stephanie Blaney from what I call Aggie Land, College Station, Texas. And Julie Downs coming from where I call God's country, Iron Mountain, Michigan, up in the Upper Peninsula. Quick thought on those 3 ladies?
All 3 are great players. Will bring so much strength to our lineup that, to be honest, was lacking in the past. The women's team in general is going to be very deep this year. It's going to be very tough to decide who plays in what position. A lot of equal players out there, so it's just going to be a lot of playing against each other to determine that. All 3 are proven winners. Stephanie and Francesca, especially coming from a national championship team and program. So I think that experience alone can help all the other players on the roster.
Let me ask you probably a silly question. You've got 4 junior transfers coming in because there's another person on the team that you mentioned. And you've got 1 true freshman and 1 returning player. What's more difficult from a recruiting aspect, trying to nab a junior college player who may have 1 or 2 years left, or maybe if you're lucky 3, or trying to get a true blue freshman that you can bring in from the ground up?
I think in our case it was easier to get the junior college players. Number one, it's easier for me to know a little bit about them. I can just turn to the ITA rankings and look at the rankings, and that pretty well speaks for itself. And then I can call the coach. I can look at the tradition of the program they play at, and that gives me an idea of what kind of player they are. High school sometimes, and especially if you're talking about out of state, I don't know much about some of these high schools in Michigan or Kentucky. I don't know about the reputation of that school and what their tennis has been in the past. So it's a little bit harder in that case. You know, I can go by USTA rankings, but those are a little misleading sometimes. The ITA rankings are a little closer to what they really are. So I think the junior college players are a really easy way to get good players right away.
The way the setup goes, and maybe it's just fluky, I don't know. You've got 6 players on the women's team.
Right.
And if my memory is correct, you used to play 6 singles and 3 doubles in a true form. Is that still correct?
That's correct.
So they're all going to play, and they're all going to play singles, they're all going to play doubles. And I remember asking, Francesca said she prefers singles, Stephanie prefers doubles, Julius wants to be on the court.
Yep.
How are you going to set things up?
That's a good question. I mean, right now I'm trying to figure out a singles lineup, and with them all being as close and as they are in skill level, it's just going to be very tough, and it's, be quite honest, something we'll just play around with, probably even in the matches. We'll go to these invitationals in the fall. We'll try to find the best combinations, and then hopefully have something set by the spring when the dual season comes around for the most part. But it's going to be tough, I think.
Well, let's take a look at the fall portion, and again, this is kind of unique. Now that we are True Blue Division I, the real season is in the spring, but the tune-up and, like you say, the finding out period does take place in the fall. And for your women, they hit the courts this Saturday.
Yeah.
A home match against the University of Indianapolis, 1 o'clock here on campus. So come on out and watch these women play. The University of Indianapolis is a very good Division II team. We used to play with them when we were in the Great Lakes Conference, Great Lakes Valley Conference. But we start off on talk quickly about that match, then we'll look on some others.
We're expecting a really tough match. They've got a couple of recruits coming in as well. It should be a really great match. I think you know, both teams are on paper evenly matched. And it should be a fun match. The coach down there is someone I know and I've played against in some adult tournaments. So he's a first-year coach. I'm a first-year coach. So I think it'll be, you know, exciting in that sense. It's our first match, you know, for each of us. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope our girls go out and can play their best, you know.
Let's take a look. A lot of weekends. The next time you'll take the court will be September 6th and 7th. You're going to go to Eastern Illinois for an invitational tournament. Now, will that be a team per se, or is that more of a individual singles versus doubles?
That's more of an individual setup. They'll put our players in singles draws, and then they'll also put them in doubles draws. And they basically do it by flight. Like there'll be a flight A, flight B, flight C. We'll have 2 players in each of those flights.
Mm-hmm. Then we go September 14th. You're going to play 2 matches at Akron. You're going to take on the Zips, and then you're going to take on St. Francis of PA.
Right.
And then on September 25th, you go to Franklin College.
That's my alma mater.
Alma mater.
We're going to go down there and play a couple of matches, men's and women's, and have a little cookout. I know the coach down there. We're going to have a little barbecue.
That sounds like fun.
After the game, so.
That leads us into matches in October. I know we don't have too much time left, but in October, you're going to be at the Ball State Invitational on October 4th and 5th.
Right.
You're going to be up in the Motor City on October 12th. You're going to take on Oakland University from the Mid-Con, and then you're going to journey into downtown Detroit. And I know where that's at because I'm from there. And you're going to take on the Titans of Detroit Mercy from the Horizon League.
Right.
Then on the 18th through 20th of October, you're going to be at the Louisville Invitational.
Right.
And I vaguely remember something about that last year, a very good test, because there's a lot of good teams going to be there.
That was actually on the men's side.
On the men's side?
Unfortunately, that Louisville tournament has been canceled, so we won't be going to that this year. We're looking currently for another match in that weekend, hopefully a home match, so we can have a few matches at home.
Okay. And that actually ends the fall portion for the women. John tells me we're just about out of time. I can't get into the men's now. We'll get it on another program.
Okay.
I will say that they do start on September 11th when they go up the road to Angola and take on Tri-State. And they've got some matches as well in September and October, at least through the solid month of September, a lot of them as well. So it's going to be an exciting time for you. Going to be a busy time.
Yes.
In the last 30 seconds, what do you hope to accomplish from the fall portion of the schedule?
I really just hope to improve each player individually and find the right combinations for each of the teams, as far as doubles and what position they'll play in singles. And I just want everyone to get to know each other and be comfortable with each other and be comfortable with me, and just have some fun, work on our games, and hopefully just improve every day out there on the courts.
Well, we wish you well, and we hope to have you back in a few weeks, and maybe some members of the men's team. And if things work out, we'll try to get everyone in the fall. But good luck on your first full year at the helm here at IPFW on both the men's and women's side.
Looking forward to it.
We'll see you in a few weeks.
All right, thank you.
Eric Burns has been our guest, the head tennis coach, both men's and women's here at IPFW. Time for a break, and when we come back, we continue our movement in the alphabet. We go from T to X. X for cross country with head coach Mike Frucci. That's when Mastodon Spotlight comes back in just a moment right here on College 56 Sports.
Hi, I'm Amanda Tapping. On Stargate SG-1, my character discovered that the Stargate could be used as a key to unlock an endless variety of adventures. Your key for endless adventure is a good education. Don't limit your options. Stay in school.
This is me, and my mom and dad, and my big brother Alex, and Jack. This is the day I learned that sandals got their name from sand, and that the ocean is bigger than all of us. This is the day we all got to forget I was sick. This was my wish.
According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, it kills over 1,500 people every year and injures 71,000 more. Inadequate sleep has been linked to health and safety risks, even premature death. But today, new treatments are helping millions get the sleep they need. So talk to your doctor or take our free risk assessment on the web at sleepfoundation.org. Sleep deprivation. It's real, it's dangerous, and it's more treatable than ever.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. We are now finished with tennis for the week, and it's time now to turn our attention to the X sport, otherwise known as cross country. And we welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight the head cross country coach for both men and women here at IPFW, Mike Frucci. And Mike, first and foremost, welcome back.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Good to be back.
It's in some ways it's hard to believe school's back on, going again, and for you that means cross country is here. Before we get into the makeup about the rosters and so forth, talk about what a cross-country coach does during the summer and trying to get his team ready for the fall.
There's a lot of preparation, Mike. Lots that goes into how we start and getting our schedule formalized and finishing out the roster. We're still actively recruiting, at least through June. And then planning for cross-country preseason camp, because when we start the school year, we start meets. So we have a couple weeks to get in good work before school starts, and then once school starts, we're in meets every week. So real tight timeline, and everything has to be laid out, real organized.
From an NCAA guideline standpoint, what are some of the cans and cannots that you can do over the summer?
Well, I'm not allowed to have the team meet before our date that the NCAA allows us, and it's so many practice opportunities before our first meet. This year it fell on August 16th. But prior to that, I'm not allowed to get them together and run or anything. I send them a packet prior to the summer while they're still in track, and it lays out my goal for them as far as their summer running mileage, and what I have planned, and how I want them to progress in their training. So they all know what the expectation is. And then I kind of leave it up to the team if they want to get together on their own. I just can't do that.
Are you allowed to talk to them at all?
Yeah, I'm allowed to talk to them.
I mean, it sounds crazy, but obviously you can't be together in a coaching format, but it almost makes me wonder, wait a minute, you can't even talk or whatever. But
Yeah.
you can't talk to them.
Oh yeah. And so I do that and let them know the timeline and what, like I said, what they need to be doing. And real summer goes by really quickly, so we need to really keep them on task and let them know, who we have coming in and that they need to be ready. And so it's a lot of planning, and the kids have to be real responsible, real accountable for what they do.
For the benefit of maybe some of our viewers who really don't know a whole heck of a lot about cross country, it's exactly what the sport is. Going cross country. It's not running on roadsides per se, and you got up and down and flat spots and here and there. The distances in a cross country meet that both men and women run, what are those distances?
The race distances are 8 kilometers for the men and 6 kilometers for the women. And there'll be, during the season, the women will run a few 5 kilometers, but their race distance is the 6 kilometer the majority of the time, and at NCAAs it'll be the 6 kilometer.
For those of us who aren't in the European standard of distance, kilometers equals, I mean, the 8 and 6 kilometers would relate to how many miles?
Yeah, the 8 kilometer for the men is just a hair under 5 miles, 4.96. For the women, it's just a little bit below 4 miles for the 6 kilometer.
Far cry when I ran cross country too many years ago when the race was 2 miles. And it was miles and not kilometers.
Yeah.
If we can take this preparation one step further, you send a packet. Is it a general, like you may want to say, like you want to run 20 miles or 30 miles a week? Is it pretty much the same for each team member, or is it differ a little bit based on maybe performances or something like that?
How I set up my summer running calendar for the kids, I actually print out calendar sheets that they're supposed to write in their miles. And they keep track of that all summer. It's basically the same for each kid. I say that the mileage I put on there is my goal for seniors. And then for juniors, I expect them to do 90% of what's on the sheets. And for sophomores, 80%. For freshmen, 70%. And those are my goals for them. And if they reach those goals, then we do some fun stuff. We give them T-shirts and stuff like that for meeting those mileage goals. But that's totally optional. It's up to them whether they do it. And so that's how we set that up. And it's not really tailored to any individual, although I do kind of stress to them that if they are whatever they're used to, what we're at here is an increase. We want you to increase what you've done before so that you'll get an increase in performance. And so whatever they're used to, if they're used to 200 miles over a summer, then we just expect an increase of maybe 100 miles. If they're used to 600 miles, then we expect an increase maybe up to 700 miles. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Are there any elective races of any type that they can run in over the summer? Granted, it is on their own.
It's all on their own, whether they get into summer racing. I don't discourage it. I tell them that to race not intensely because I want them to save that mental energy, so to speak, for the fall racing season. I don't mind if they go in races. I don't suggest more than one race a weekend, but I tend to want them to think about it as low key mentally as they can. So they're going in, they're racing, but they're not real intense about it. So.
This is an off-the-wall question, and you know that I'm crazy to begin with. Cross country, obviously distance, and you're talking, 5 miles, 4 miles as far as the race. Would it behoove any of your runners to run marathons as preparation for cross country?
No, not at all, Mike. I would discourage that. Marathons are an awful long distance. They're kind of an animal of their own, and once you get beyond, about 18 miles, you really start stressing the body, and that can bring along a myriad of different things, whether it be stress fractures or just your muscles are sore for a month. I mean, you can't imagine that until you actually do that kind of race, but those are the kind of things that happen, and they're hard on the body. And so I encourage the runners to, if they want to do that, and some runners really have a goal to run a marathon, that they wait until after they graduate from college to attempt that.
Told you it was an off-the-wall question,
Yeah.
but I guess what I was thinking of, truthfully, miles, and we talk distance. In a marathon, 26 miles, 385 yards. I just didn't know if it could actually correlate and be of benefit to a cross-country runner or not.
The kids over the summer run an awful lot. I had a girl this year, a returner, who ran 676 miles, more miles than any of the guys ran, notably. So she ran a lot. She did 2 runs a day to get in extra mileage, about half the week. They're like every other day, which is kind of what I suggest, so that you give your body a break every other day at least from that kind of stress load. But we do need miles, and even though we race a very short distance, we need to train the body to go a very long distance so we can run the short distance fast. And so that's kind of what we work toward.
From an injury standpoint, what's the worst injury that you fear for any of your members of your cross-country teams?
Well, I'm not really, don't really worry about muscle soreness or strains. I do worry about tears, and so I really worry that we might tear something, that we might do some damage that might take surgery to repair, and obviously that would put the runner out for the season. Since, like I alluded to earlier, our season starts when school starts. We start meets, and so if you get an injury now, the chances of coming back and contributing to the team 6 weeks later are not very good, because it's not really a skill sport. It's really a sport that you have to put in the time to be good at, and you lose that time and you really lose an edge. So
I know this is, I believe, your 3rd year here at IPFW, and when we get into the next segment, we're going to go over these rosters. But I do want to reference one person on the men's side who I know was a very, very good runner, and you're going to miss him because he graduated, and that's Jason Sorg. And what I wanted to bring up, Jason, a very, very good individual runner. Sometimes we have to remember cross-country is a team sport. And the question I wanted to ask is, how much do you, I don't want to use the word preach, but preach to your team to pack run as opposed to running individually in the course of a race?
I really don't stress that. I stress that we are a team, and that we encourage each other, and that when you see your teammates in a race and you're passing them or they're passing you, that you give a word of encouragement to your other teammates. I guess my main reason for not encouraging pack running is I don't want to hold anybody back. And so I want us to encourage each other, and if we can run together and help each other, great. But I also don't want to inhibit anybody from really reaching their potential. And so I feel like I don't want to stress that. I want to stress that we encourage and help each other, but that we don't hold our own races back for that. So.
Time for a break. When we come back, we're going to take an in-depth look at the rosters of this year's cross-country teams, both men and women. And we'll have to take a look at the schedule itself as well. As Mike alluded, they're running this weekend. And we'll talk about that and more when Mastodon Spotlight returns in just a moment.
They came from every corner of the country. From small towns and big cities. But they all shared one thing in common. They belonged to a family called Marines. A tough and determined few, dedicated to protecting everything we hold sacred. And still they come. Celebrate the 225-year history of those proud few who have earned the title Marine.
Have you saved a life today?
I took 2 flood victims to a shelter.
I donated a day's pay to help a family that lost everything in a fire.
Have you saved a life today?
I teach a class in infant CPR. I donated a pint of blood.
Have you saved a life today?
No.
But today somebody saved mine.
The American Red Cross. Together, we can save a life.
Allow a part of ourselves to die with them. Help World Wildlife Fund protect animals in the places where they live by ordering a free action kit. Together, we can leave our children a living planet.
Come in, she said, I'll give ya shelter from the storm.
Welcome back to Mastodon Spotlight. We are talking cross country in this half of the program. We have with us the head coach of cross country, both men's and women's, here at IPFW, Mike Frucci. And Mike, I thought we've covered a lot of ground in the last segment in terms of the preparation and some of the ins and outs. Now let's look at some of the names, faces, and events that's going to take place down the road. And let's start with the men's team. Though somewhat small in numbers, you do have 2 returning runners left. And let's talk about the roster of the men's cross-country team.
Well, Mike, you're right. We've got 2 returners, and Paul Tryon, our lone senior. Last year I had 2 seniors, so I'm glad this year I only have 1. There are more kids coming back. But Paul's going to be a great leader for us. He's our captain, and he's been around a while. And he's just a very good leader. So as far as running with people, he'll help the team both in practices. Whereas Jason was a good leader last year for us. He was so good as far as dominant performance on the team that he really ran away from everyone else at practice. And he needed to get his work in, and so that had to be done. But I think Paul is closer to everybody else and is a real come from behind kind of pace runner, and so I think the practices will be better, help the team out maybe a little bit more. The other returner is Ian Wilson, who's a real good high school runner from Homestead, and Ian had a great freshman PR last year, 27:13 for the 8K, so he looks really strong this year. So I anticipate that he'll be even better. And then we've got 3 incoming kids. Probably should start out with the best of those, Cody Brown. Not that any of them are better than the others, but Cody was regional champ here at the Fort Wayne Regional in the 2 mile from Central Noble, and is just a fantastic runner. And could be our #1 runner. It's very possible. He's got great ability, just great ability. So I'm looking for good things from him, because he was as fast as Ian was in high school, and so we're hoping for something in the 26-minute range from him. Chris Brown from Bluffton, another good kid, ran a lot of miles over the summer, a good pacer, has pretty good leg speed, and so I think that he really helps our team out, kind of like Paul. Kind of in the same vein, they tend to run a lot together. So, but that's and then our fifth runner, Brandon Reichert, transfer. So not an incoming freshman, but a kid that we recruited last year, which would have been Ian Wilson's. When we were recruiting Ian, we recruited Brandon at the same time. And Brandon chose to go to Purdue for a year and decided that he didn't like that and wanted to come back to IPFW. And with most of the kids, almost all of them that I recruit heavily, I always say, hey, if you don't decide to come here, if you don't like where you're going, you always can come back, because I believe in you and your ability. And so he decided to take me up on that and came back and is running really well. Has a little bit of IT band syndrome in his knee that he's working on, but when that isn't bothering him, he's a very good runner. And so we're kind of working on that with the trainers. But I'm glad to have Brandon on board.
Well, that's the makeup of the men's team. Now let's look at the women's team. And again, you have a situation where you have two returning runners.
Yeah, Gina Pruitt, who we
had on the show last year.
Yeah, Gina's our junior captain. So that's the nice thing about the girls' team. No seniors, all underclassmen. And Gina had a great track year, got down to 2:17 in the 800, and so all this kind of builds on itself. And so as she improved last year in cross, she improved again in track, and now that hopefully will carry over into the fall. And I know it will, because she's ran more over the summer than she ever has. Steph Asher, our other returner, again, we talked about her earlier. She ran a lot of summer miles. And then we have some really talented freshmen, which really is exciting for the program. Just never a women's freshman class like we have this year. I don't think IPFW's cross country has never had that kind of class. And we have a set of twins from Northrop, Simpson twins, have high school PRs of 14:46 and 15:06 for the 4K in high school, and are just excellent runners, excellent students as well. And came out of Northrop with 3.9 GPAs. So
not all bad.
Not all bad. Another runner that we've gotten in, Ashley Keener from Eastside, was that school's valedictorian, as well as their school record holder in 15:06 for the 4K. And Ashley has done a fantastic job, did some good summer running, and has looked really good in the early season. And our fourth member of that class is Rachel Stoffel from Huntington North. Rachel was our second runner. Is developing her skills right now. Didn't have quite the PRs that the other three had, so she's kind of working from behind, but has a great attitude and really is trying her best to improve herself. So I'm really excited about the girls team. I'm really looking forward to getting both teams into races and just seeing how they'll perform. So,
well, let's look at the schedule. And we said earlier, it starts this weekend. You weren't kidding when you said you get them into school and get them on the course. The Indiana Open down at Bloomington this coming is either 30th. I want to say is Friday.
Yep.
Talk about that race.
Yep. The Indiana Open. It's basically a beginning race, Mike. It's not scored. Your first day of practice is determined by how early you have your first meet. And so Indiana obviously wants to start as early as they can, and we do too, and many other schools. And so Indiana has this unscored meet on August 30th, and it's not a real big field, maybe 6 or 7 teams. It'll be IU and us and IUPUI, maybe Eastern Illinois, I think was there last year, Miami of Ohio, Ball State. So just some kind of regional schools that want to have an early meet, and it's unscored, like I said, and so it's just a meet to kind of get your feet wet and start the season. So.
Well, the week after that, you're going to head west on US 30 to Valparaiso and take part in the Valparaiso Invitational.
Yeah, that was a great meet last year. We really had a good time. The guys got 4th out of 7 teams. we really enjoy that meet because we get a chance to run against Valpo, but we also get a chance to run against Notre Dame. It'll be one of the few times that we get a chance to run against them, and they're just a great program, and so it's an honor for us to be in that meet and to run against those kind of schools. So.
2 weeks after that, September 20th, you go back to Bloomington for Big State, Little State.
Indiana Intercollegiates. It's been around for a long, long time. Basically all the schools in Indiana, the small schools and the big schools, and they score the small schools together and they score the D1 schools together that are in the state. And so it's an exciting time, and it gives every school in the state really an opportunity to run against everybody else. So.
8 days later, on September 28th, you get to make your out-of-state trip for the season. You're going to go up to the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and take part, and I hope I pronounce it right, is it the Ray-Knack or is it Gnak? G-N-A-K.
It's actually GRIAC.
GRIAC, okay. So I'll blame our printer or whatever. I thought it was G-N-A-K, it must be G-R-A-K. Invitational.
Yeah, G-R-I-A-K. Okay. And basically, yeah, the University of Minnesota hosts this. It's a huge collegiate and high school meet. They have numerous divisions. We'd be in Division I. Last year in the Division I race, they had 29 teams. So very big, and wanted to take the kids to an away meet that gets them kind of a little bit out of the Midwest. And last year, we went to South Carolina. The year before that, we went to Iowa. And this year, it worked out that we could go to the Minnesota meet. Called their coaches. They were very receptive to us coming up there, and thought it'd be a good experience for the kids to get in a big meet, to get away from our normal set of competition, and get to a different state and kind of see a little bit of the different part of the country. So.
Well, then we get to the October portion of the schedule, and not too much time left, but October 5th, you go down to Terre Haute, the Indiana State Invitational, the first of at least 2 and possibly 3 times you're going to get to run down at Terre Haute.
Yeah, that's that meet is a very tough meet. Top schools there. Last year, Eastern Michigan was there and had the individual NCAA champion won that race last year. We were under heavy competition there with Air Force and Northern Arizona and some really good cross-country schools. That'll be probably about a 10-team meet, and like I said, it's very, very competitive. But it's good to be on that course. As you alluded to, we're going to be running there later, so our kids need to get on it and feel comfortable with it.
Well, a week after that, October 12th, you're going to go up to Kalamazoo, Western Michigan University. It'd be at the Bronco Invitational. And then we go back to Terre Haute for the NCAA pre-meet, which is on October 19th. And again, a big race to find out where you stand. And then after that, November 16th, the Great Lakes Regional at West Lafayette. And for those who qualify, the finales, the NCAA Nationals, back in Terre Haute on November 25th. A big schedule, important schedule, and quick thoughts as we're almost out of time.
Well, the schedule is very difficult, and I set it up that way on purpose. I want the kids, now that we knew we were moving to Division I, now we're a full Division I member, I want them to understand the level of competition that we have to perform at. And I'm not going to take us to meets that don't give us the realistic perspective of where we need to be. And we may take some lumps, but we'll get better and we'll learn what it takes to be at the level that we want to be at. And you only get that way through experience. And I think as we have a very young team on both sides, that providing this experience early in their collegiate running career is essential to their development.
Well, we wish you well. It's going to be an interesting challenge, to say the least, but we wish you and your teams well, and we hope to have you back in a few weeks for a little progress report.
Sounds great, Mike.
Thank you much. Mike Frucci has been our guest, the head cross-country coach for both men and women here at IPFW. We thank Mike. We thank the other guests that were on earlier in the program, Eric Burns and 3 of his junior college transfers from the women's tennis team. Quick update, as we're almost out of time. Sports, they're here this weekend. IPFW women's volleyball, and we tentatively hope to have Kelly Hartley on next week on Mastodon Spotlight. They start up their season officially this weekend at Miami of Ohio. Going to play 3 matches. Men's soccer team is going to play down at IUPUI taking on Louisville and Alabama A&M. And the women's soccer team is going to take on IUPUI and DePaul. DePaul match is a home match Sunday, 4 o'clock at the Hefner Fields. And as was mentioned earlier in the program, women's tennis Saturday here against the University of Indianapolis. So come on out and support IPFW athletics. That's it for this edition of Mastodon Spotlight. As always, we thank you for tuning in to see what's going on with IPFW athletics. We invite you to come back again next week. Again, tentatively, we hope to have Kelly Hartley for women's volleyball. But until then, this is Mike Maas saying have a great week and go Dons.